다들인데 인지계에서 런던리아 통마 레벨하다 고급들이 충분해. 아니 봐봐도 인데 아주 대패백이 지 가르다 초보 용리야. 네. 통마를 참 주셔야다. 아주 지 뒤수 좀 붙이기. 저 다지 뒤 좀 붙이려. 네, 연구 체네. 아니 시네. 드린데 무슨 지하기 고급 정보디 가보시다 총수라이.
To begin with, I would like to express my great delight at this opportunity that has come to pass for me to visit London, the capital of the United Kingdom, for the first time. Especially, I would like to extend my warmest greetings to all you friends who are gathered here. I have been waiting for a long time to visit the United Kingdom, and now that opportunity has finally arisen, and I'm so happy about this.
다른데 가져라다 런던리아 인지리아 요아데 두수 튼튼지 다 팅탕보래라 두수 튼튼지 임브래 다 조조된 아주지 내용 투야디 가져래 고주 투야디 개심이 지량 무지 쇼예 지금 고주 투비는 마음발이야 아니 야야도 요아기 고급 디 마르조르 삼창게.
Even though it's my first visit, still, the time allotted for this visit is very short. However, I consider this to be merely the beginning. I think of this opportunity, of this short initial visit, as a gateway so that I will be able to come again and again in the future.
아니 당기 라마 이시기 오전에 주사네 안다지 가수에 오전에 수문은 신기 다른가 대 인지로만 용배 겁리야 엄마이는지 아공rum시 슈베 겁리야다 나 인지로만 레두사네 아공rum시 제그레 삼바르지 아 정기 이내 다다 인지로만이야 레베 제래야 아니 아공rum시 제야요 말에 다디 셈판부르지레 이내야 안다다디 라마이시 고난 사메기 안 모투네 제 아고는 붙이기 가수다 고란기 비전 서머베다 지자바틀레 모투 냠데 돈두산 가르샤 총송 안 마음발이야 덴데 지 사메 링을 써발이야 용토르 삼정도 드리제샤
Lama Yeshe, in his introduction, mentioned the activities of the great Akong Rinpoche. And in accordance with what he said, for the longest time, while I was waiting and hoping to be able to visit London, I always thought to myself, when I get to London, I will see Akong Rinpoche there. But of course, now that I have had the opportunity to come here, I wasn't able to meet with him when I arrived. There is certainly a sadness to this. But nevertheless, Lama Yeshe and others are continuing to faithfully uphold the vision and enlightened activities of Akong Rinpoche. And this is very heartening. Furthermore, I am confident that in the future I will be able to visit the very important seat that is Samye Ling.
Lojong Golia Shia to Simbre. Lojong said this serious serious practice. Ta Kashrechi, Tinisha. And the Indusa and the Indi Nalolea, Council Nalolea, Shunguma Jig Nanshe Lojong Chen Yongye, Chichen Manga Mandro Summer Changado.
Lasa?
Nanshe the Zawane Lojong Chen Manung with the Yuana. But she that much Lava Jang was came to use it. Takanda, Mancheti was in Nanchulia, Kalakans of Lojong Chenyua, Yamle Chenyua, the Demon Wisre, Jezan Chichena, Lojong D, and the Gazi Council, the other G. Galakabos Marata, serious trip. Chogmare some tango, Dainegi, Sabat of Zimina, and this Galakabos. Takanda in the Tradiciati and the Jesha.
The topic of discussion for our program is the teachings of what in Tibetan are called the Lojong teachings, or the teachings on mind training, training the mind. I think that from among those gathered here, my rough sense is that the vast majority of you are already Buddhist practitioners who have quite some degree of familiarity with the Buddhist teachings, have been studying for some time, and so on. And therefore, even though in general Lojong is considered a serious topic or a difficult topic, since most of you have been studying quite a bit of Buddhism already, I don't think you will find it to be very difficult to follow along. On the other hand, if there are some of you in the audience who are completely new to Buddhism, then you might find the material slightly challenging, but nevertheless, this is the topic that has been arranged.
Lojong ki text somarvada ji beja sanandando Lojong ki chape mangbu yare. Ta di nane dari de dangwa che shawadi geshe lor tambe zebe Lojong sige ma dimre.
From among all of the Lojong texts and teachings, and there are a great many of them, we will be focusing our discussion on a text by the Lojong master, Geshe Langre Tangpa, a text called The 8 Verses for Training the Mind.
The made the Pakistan German 내가 저 요소를 왜? I found this stage is shaking because when Lama Yishi is introducing me, the stage is shaking. What? I don't know why. Then later I found Lama Yishi is shaking. That's why the stage is shaking. I'm sorry. 다 당우들이야 계시 러르 탐바 소마르베다 로존 스기에미 잠예 계시 러르 탐바 디고랴 모저도 주샤도 신 다데 계시 러르 탐바 사데 가담비 다 게시니 저요아레 다공 총비 뒤주디 지동 주메 ngabjung ngabshil chune and jigdong jigge yuzosumlia and then da gona gonglu chuju reguzu shude bishisha.
First, some words of introduction about the composer of the text, the author of the text called 8 Verses for Training the Mind, Geshe Langri Tangpa. He was a master from the Kadam tradition of Buddhism and was born in the year 1054 of the Common Era. He passed away in the year 1123 at the age of 69.
His actual name is Dorje Singhe, but everybody is calling him Langri Tangpa because he founded a monastery at a place called Langtang. That's why he's called Langri Tangpa. 다들이 이제 다양 콜이야 nickname sommar베다지 민도르지 예데베면 다들 가라서 랑당 원아바스 다도 원아바스도 동반나고 제대로서 드리지브레 다들 가르쳐 버서는 공 아니 원아바스라고 해야 돼. 얘는 공 시험시가 말았어. 오, thank you. 공 시험시가 말았어. 여러분 그 뒤에 배지 시험시가 말에 그 뒤에 그 동반나버지 쇼유에서 아는 원아바레슬라요.
And Geshe Langri Tangpa had a nickname. He was called the grim-faced Tangpa, or somber Langri Tangpa, because he wasn't known to smile or laugh very much. He always wore a very serious or dur expression on his face. So he was called grim-faced or somber.
Lots of people think I'm also very serious. Never smiled or laughing. But that is not true. Sometimes. 다들이 이제 사네. 다디 딩상 배나 배배 날 드스니 요래. 배바. 진짜 나로래야. 안다지 다디 콘 동반하고 체제 그 뒤에 에 시엘이야. 가서 좀 다음에 비시 쇼유에 인도산 다디 안다 최사디 야부시라요 말았어. 가르스나 아니 저랑 배지기 최사디 냠는 채비는 아니 수술이야. 지 동해용네. 지 개먹게 하면게. 안다 지 뭐네 지 enjoy life 자면게 되게 차로랬어. 되게 신이 용디 알아.
And actually, due to this reputation of Geshe Langri Tangpa for being so somber and serious, some Tibetans these days have pointed to this and said that this is evidence that if one practices the Dharma and focuses one's life around Buddhism, then that's not good, because we can see from examples such as that of Langri Tangpa that practicing Buddhism just makes you suffer more. It makes it so that you never smile or laugh. It makes it so that you won't be able to enjoy your life, they say.
다 이네디 misinterpretation sommar다 르차되어다 지당 그 콘디 가수에지 지 series 세난다도 선버시 영과의 김센데 조디 콘기 가수에 지 심쟁기서 가수다 지 조에 디두 sommar에 디두리아 하는 공부 제주도 대체 현행기 배지 넘버 더 버신다 맵체 조 지금 조외기 디두리아 하는 공부 제주도 대 드리 미주산다 디기 가르치는 거 열어서나 콩 가르치래 intensity 인도지 임베지다 다나 신기 가르다 오늘 전에 그다지 투규디 에너지 저 클래스 남다 알아보지 미치기 드르지 성공만
But these criticisms are a misinterpretation of Geshe Langri Tangpa's somber demeanor. What his seriousness is really a sign of is that he cared so deeply about the joys and sufferings and overall welfare of sentient beings, that that's the only thing he thought about. So rather than a sign of him being morose or unnecessarily low in spirit, his serious expression was instead a sign of his intensity and his completely pure-hearted concern for others.
다들 인도산 다 디기 치 남발이야 지 가르지 남바디 주분르지 예답지 이나 난기 다 꿀롱데 잠버르지 예답지 다 디서지 대인도 다디 조디 간다 지 loving kindness 지 참바다 인지기 가르에 참바다 인지기 냠랜데 제네 용주산에 안지 생기 동해데 생기 동해래 참바다 인지기 냠랜데 제네 용주산에 아니 생기 동해지 또 동해데 수직 단도 렌토 그러지나 동해를 지 포커스 채트야 그러지 그래서 좋은데 알아 다 이게 가르지 치는 바 대비는 지 가르라 정보를 지임비냐 난도 잠보여야 되지 되지기 딱 한다 가르다 시가 세난다도 되지기 연대르지 안에 기실라를 당발을 해봐 되지입니다.
So when we look at Geshe Langri Tangpa's demeanor from the outside, it may appear somewhat coarse or rough. But when we look at his heart of loving kindness from the inside, it is very soft. His heart was filled with loving kindness and compassion, and he was completely immersed in the practices of loving kindness and compassion, and therefore utterly willing to bear witness to and take upon himself the sufferings of others. That was his wholehearted focus. So even though from the outside his demeanor seemed rough, on the inside his essential character was soft. And I think that this is the essential quality that Geshe Langri Tangpa possessed.
아니 게실랑 담다기 고르시는 신기 고랑 가담비 계신이 자리기 임bre 가담비기 로종이 냠래인데 가담비기 냠래 딱 계침시 자리야래 답변은 용자라 변은 로종기 지 베자 게라 치슈지데 로종 둔두마데 저요아래 자체가와 이시도 진짜베 로종 둔두마데 자체가와 코랑 충두 기시 러드 탐베 제베 로종 쓰기에마데 코네 근데 로종 쓰기에마데 미신다가 되마데 코네 에네 디기 가담비 냠렌리아 코랑 미세기 메바르 게체 에네 가담리아 지 슈약 고주 슈약 슝드기 삼바드네 게임을 제자 드니 주산에 엔더지 지 게시 참 그다데 로전 튼두만 쟁겐기 자체가 코라이네 지 텔레아 르기실라르 담베기 로전 스기에미 인플루언스 마르바타지 슈겐 스타이테요지 드니지브레
The Lojong or mind training teachings are more or less the primary focus, or certainly one of the primary focuses of the Kadampa tradition. They're a very important body of teachings to that tradition. And in terms of that tradition's most famous texts, you could say that the most famous one is the text called the Seven Points of Mind Training, composed by a master named Chekawa Yeshe Dorje. And this master, Chekawa Yeshe Dorje, has a very interesting connection to Geshe Langri Tangpa. When Chekawa Yeshe Dorje was small, he began to hear about this text called the 8 Verses of Mind Training. He overheard others chanting the text and so forth. And due to making this connection, he began to develop an interest in the Kadampa tradition. He developed faith toward the Kadampa tradition and a desire to enter into its teachings. So I think it is very clear that the author of the 7 Points of Mind Training, Chekawa Yeshe Dorje, was strongly influenced by Geshe Langri Tangpa and his 8 verses for training the mind.
딱금 들이야 로종 사기 로함 that mind 라고 하디 that referred 과에 가르디 tunada kwa ku arslawimna the mind the enlightened mind senandrdo energy body jida the jilia ko ko yebre
So if we look at the term Lojong itself, Lo means, or lo could be translated as mind. And one way of understanding what that means here in this context is to understand it as a reference to the enlightened mind or the awakened mind called bodhicitta.
Yeah. So when we say mind, it primarily means bodhicitta. Yeah. Then the mind training really means the training of bodhicitta. 다들 유산에 지 bodhicitta 사데 베네지 bodhisattva 지 요하래 bodhicitta 고요하래 bodhicitta 사데 매비임나 딱까 bodhicitta 사데 bodhisattva kurang souls namshi senanrado and kurang soul senanrado dadi bodhicitta dimre 제랑 아주 지대스라고 하되 닝접지 그거보다 kurang 닝엄 소디
라서
전주 선배기 닝엄 소도부디
라서
다디 bodhicitta 차려하래 제장 안 bodhisattva 사디 냠낸 소디 에너지 가르쳐야 되는 저기 전주의 셈 이제는 봐 로장세 이제 가르쳐 트레이닝下돼 그냥 냠낸 소디 제가들 냠낸데 step by step and gradually improve 다들 지할 수 있도
라서 If one wishes to be a bodhisattva, then the quality that one must train in is bodhicitta. Bodhi meaning awakening, citta meaning heart or mind. And bodhicitta is the main indispensable practice for all bodhisattvas. Therefore, mind training means training one's mind in the awakened heart of bodhicitta. So this is the reason why this heart is called citta, is because it is like the life force or the essential spirit for all bodhisattvas training on the path. And therefore, bodhicitta is the main focus of all of the mind training instructions and practices. And through the mind training instructions, we can train in developing bodhicitta in a step-by-step, gradual manner.
드레인 유산에다 로종기 저기 차베드소 베즈드소 개체의 미견 젠디 가르사나다 지 로종인 지 드레기 전주기 셈 정하기 냠랭기 냉가데소 엔디나로르다 냉가디 다 가르에 지 핸드북 sort of 제 드지 냉가도 상물로도 티셔비 인상 다디 여비치 엔데아지 가르에 사면 냉가데스 로리아 녜비치 memorized 루체제 드레가 토나 practice 샤 제리바 지 sig용로 된 뒤버를 제제 드리지 티여비 인상 다디기 가르에 다 개침 차려요
Lhasa? So the mind training texts summarize the main points of bodhicitta. They are like handbooks for training our minds in bodhicitta. They are designed to be accessed readily by our minds, to be easily ascertained by our minds, and even to be memorized. So the distinct feature of the Lojong texts is that they are usually short in words, but pithy in their meaning.
Lakbar do ji lojong yamne saadi the kashre no just to be somewhat studied somewhat taji ji lojong cha za mayimba tadi put it into practice ji ta nejik cha wa de kejim ship cha de orba ta ji ngone chane ge jongdar cha ji de ji mi inza ta de gyun zan de ne 정다르 차지 민두스탄에 다디기 에너지 가슈에 로종기 냠렌디 주나로래야 수수기 로지 야처르다 체도 에너지 가슈에다지 삼동다 세나다 expect 그서를 다지 초용내 지 따당 잠미다 삼동당 잠미다 망문나 소지 아주리아 지 provide 세나다도 동단 잠을 망부치 럽체 디 귀네 제제 아는 아주기 삼동단 되지 삼바지 구양도抓다 안다는 신기 지 참바의 닌지 계약이 지 가서 갱이 참 닌지 참바의 닌지 계약이야 지 그러다 개견당 튕개 지 개견 용도야 튕개 마음도 알았지 되지기 가서다 냠내지 말해
Furthermore, the main emphasis in terms of how we are to relate to the Lojong texts is that we are encouraged to put them into practice directly. So when it comes to studying and learning about mind training, the main quality emphasized isn't the mere acquisition of knowledge. So it's not really an intellectual project at all, but it's more about direct practice and direct training in our own personal experience. So what the Lojong teachings aim to do is provide us with a wide array of methods for us to make our hearts and minds bigger, for us to make our hearts and minds more vast, more encompassing. And in order to achieve this, the Lojong methods look at things from various different angles and provide us with a wide array of different contemplations. And through engaging in contemplation this way, we endeavor to make our minds more open and spacious, and we also endeavor to learn what the adverse conditions for developing loving kindness and compassion are, and what the harmonious conditions for developing loving kindness and compassion are. Having learned that, we then try to reduce the obstacles or adverse conditions to developing loving kindness and compassion, and increase the favorable conditions.
다디나네 아주주 당 아주 지 가주에 다 등상 지기 와르다 드마식 시에산 드면 다드네 가르자디 로좀 쓰기에 맞는 안에 다지 쓰게래야 냠내 게 여비므래
나서?
이 쇼로거를야 냠내지 뜬거 여비므래
In terms of the 8 verses themselves, the verses are 8 in number. And going along with those 8 verses, there are also 8 different practices that are taught. So there's 8 verses which teach 8 different practices.
드니 주산에다 쇼로가 당부디기 심제 탐제래 제신 방배 삼바 즉 심제 탐제래다 즉 제신 방배 뒤다도 즉 제신 방배기 삼바 딘디지 그 로종아 드리지 말해.
That's all. The practice taught by the first verse, the practice taught by the first verse is the practice of developing an attitude of always cherishing all sentient beings, always cherishing and deeply valuing all sentient beings is what is taught by the first verse.
다들 당고들 책 당고들이야. 다는 심지에 탐지하라. 전쇼 준비 삼바이. 가자. 이신도 불래라. 다도 제벌 집으셔. 뒤집어.
Lasso? May I have a brochure? The first verse of Geshe Langri Tangpa's text, 8 verses for training the mind, says, I will rely on all sentient beings who surpass a wish-fulfilling jewel to accomplish the supreme aim. With this attitude, may I always cherish beings. Thank you.
Wow. Okay, moving. 다디게 이제 심지어 탐지래야 지 제신 방배기 로 개버지 게아르 드르지라로 쫓아로 드르지므래 다디야 빼르부터 가르샤브스나 지 노르부지 더부지 빼샤지 다지 베나 아주 딩사베나 다이멘드 더부지 다지 좀부지 자시부터 드르시야브디 당부 고란지 장머지에다 당머지 요마레스 다지 차당 지 사단 도당 돌아 서베 급니 여베 임브레스 다디기디 지가슈파 세비미나 사단 돌아 서베 세비 코라카슈다지 사단 돌아 서베 급니 여르데 코랑 정신디 가슈다 자심부르지 코라 정신디 자신 임발야지 사단 돌아 서베 기트메 여바티기 코랑 정신 린단체모 임바텔라 뉴스 칸 요마르스 견칸 요마르스 견칸 소토 요마르스 다가는 신기지 심제 탐지래야 다지 심제 담들야지 견당 다가는 신기 지 주말라서와 다지 견당 지 수수수기 characteristic 담들 망고 예외 의미냐 코랑의 정신 지가주기 콜 지가르레 지 제신 방벌 진배기 진괴베가 다시 가르쳐 지 제신 방벌 진괴베게 정신 퀄리티 틀이야 코랑 교회베티기 지 가르쳐 되게 에펙트 제도 많았어
I will reread the English translation as it appears on page 6 of the official commemorative program. Thinking that all sentient beings surpass a wish-fulfilling jewel for accomplishing the supreme aim. May I always cherish beings. This is the verse that teaches the practice of always cherishing and deeply valuing sentient beings. The example that is used to illustrate the inherent value of sentient beings is that of a diamond buried in the earth. If we want to enjoy the brightness and so forth, the excellent qualities of a diamond, then it's not going to be the case that the diamond is perfectly clean and shining from the very outset. It's going to be covered in mud, soil, and so forth. Nevertheless, even though the diamond may be covered by various kinds of dirt, that dirt has no effect whatsoever upon the excellent qualities of the diamond. That dirt and those rocks are not able to inflict any harm on the inherent value of the diamond. And in the same way, there are all kinds of sentient beings, and many of them possess all kinds of flaws. Even though sentient beings may have various character defects and so forth, whatever flaws we could identify, these flaws have no effect on the inherent high value of sentient beings. The inherent cherishability, so to speak, that is the true nature of sentient beings. These flaws can inflict no harm at all on this basic nature of sentient beings, which is worthy of being cherished.
다른 주사 갑들이야 이신노브 레 학바스 베나지 주무지에 베나지 파람러서 바테솔레 학바지 이엠바지게 지심제 탐제 데레 학바지 미두시게 오르송바 다디 간데스 다디 간주 ngui ni zu tolia de san zum ling di ji pinjin da laboratory di san ji chatting di tuireb senan da information error ji min za de nga zu sang lo pinju ji gi ji lia da jaba di shu che che du ala ji le ji de ji le ji de ne ya ba ji le ji ka ru da ji 对你也对不起，这个这点都是没这第一，这把的我是推的，卡塞的主要的，我买的卡塞的主要的。这里就算第一在点呢，那平时这个这里啊，本来就按这个，这全部投来那的，三月个三档，这个，假如说大家忙不起，时间闲了呀，对你也对不起不起。对于啥时间闲的。 안다기 지 다이먼스 아도 코랑 린단 첨부 임바 점려 마토 베기 코랑 라 데네 태거 지 다르지 심제네 아줄래 팬데 중원은 신지 코랑 데네 태거 팬데 가연 중고 말마 드니 이내 아지 심제 담 심제 셴 데네 지 팬데디 태거 정리는 주고 예배 인주사네 오늘 전에 다 자침부 신 자침부 진과데 이 심제 셴 탐제 다 자주 싶지 인데 비치 근데 지금 비치 아주 다 학가주지 뭐 처벌을 치지 이제 그다 심리야 지 야내야도 심제 셴 야지 가주지 단체부 세난다도 야나 자심부 세난다도 야나 지 gratitude 세난다도 가나 지지기 로 지리야 야내야도 아주 랍고레소
Not only are sentient beings similar in quality to a diamond in this way, but as we see in the text, sentient beings surpass a wish-fulfilling jewel. So it's not just the case that they're similar to a diamond, but they're even more valuable than a diamond or a wish-fulfilling jewel. And this verse teaches us that we need to develop the attitude that sees them in this way. We can see this principle very clearly if we look at the way the world works these days. These days, we're living in the information era, and we're living in a world in which one can see the reality of interconnectedness more and more clearly all the time. We can see very clearly, more and more so every day, how we are all connected to one another and how we all depend on one another. Whether it's when considering our clothing or our food or our many other needs and enjoyments, we can see very clearly how all of these necessities are provided to us by other sentient beings. And in order to live our lives, we need to depend upon other sentient beings. And therefore, others, sentient beings, are even more valuable to us than a diamond. A diamond might be something you could say in a certain way possesses a lot of value. But if you think about it, a diamond can't give us any direct benefit. We don't really get much from directly relating to a diamond, but that's not the case with sentient beings. Sentient beings directly help us, and therefore they are more important than even the most valuable jewel, and we are encouraged to recognize this here. We're encouraged to develop this outlook towards sentient beings and this attitude that sees them as extremely valuable, as extremely sacred, as an object of great gratitude. And so here we are encouraged to train our minds again and again to see sentient beings in this way.
다바지 드립 심이라더니 안에 드니 뉴스안에 다 다나 쇼베 다 쇼베 산다 인공서 다 인공서라고 말죠. 다가这个自己不查公大只有
Larry?
安得这些啥
Lasso? I think that's about all for this first session of the day, and we have one more session coming up this afternoon.
No, yeah. And the conclusion, they have some prayers and a conclusion? No? I should be the... Thinking La. I could be the umze. Chanting master. Oh no. Terrible. Okay. Oh, I can do that. It's okay. Who's that? Oh, yeah. Kare, karanjone. Sonam de damje seba nye tomne nye be ranamba. Kega na je balo druba ye sebe zolendo. Rojo jabe bawe chidara gemba da kundu sambe de andi. De da gwinge je so da lo je gewa de na. Rado ngo sangye kusun nye be jela. Chunye min gyuru de be jela da. Ginje min je de be jela. Jeda ngo mo. Dubai.